You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hi, this is Del Morgado.
Hi, this is Tim Rose, who played Admiral Akbar in Return of the Jedi.
This is Kim Possible. Mandy Cowell here.
Hey everyone, it's Tammy Stronach from The Neverending Story.
This is Jeremy Taggart from the Taggart and Torrance podcast.
Hey, this is Loki Corn Cosplay.
Hey, I'm DJ Jenny Rock from Neil and Johnny Drink in the Park.
And I'm Neil Young from Neil and Johnny Drink in the Park, Johnny's best friend.
You're not my best friend.
You're my best friend.
Not.
Hello, this is Dr. Steve-O.
Hello, this is Andrew Chalmers, the writer and doctor in Doctor Who Dark Journey.
Hey, what's cracking, y'all? It's your boy J-Rock. You know, I'm Sierra Era Igra. You're listening to Droids Canada podcast.
Enjoy your chimichanga.
Warning. Listener discretion is advised.
That means there's a lot of fucking swearing.
Hello. Alright, Droids Canada, droidscanada.com. I'm here in Windsor with artist, illustrator Jay Fosgitt. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Not bad at all. I'm going to jump right into this. How did you get involved with the creation of comic book art?
I've been a fan of comics since I was very little, starting off with comic strips, which soon evolved into comic books. And I had a talent for art since early on, and that was just my focus. And I knew this is what I was going to do, and for the past 10 years, I've been able to do it full time, working for various publishers. So,
excellent. So, what type of publications would your best work be in?
I've been doing a lot of stuff for Marvel in the last 2 to 3 years. I've done a lot of covers for things from Deadpool, GWENPOOL, Web Warriors, Avengers, Jessica Jones, and then I've done a lot of interiors too. Like I drew an issue of Rocket Raccoon and Groot for Scotty Young. And I recently wrote and drew a couple stories for Not Brand Ek, which was a humor book that Marvel put out. And I've also worked for Boom. I have my own book, Bodhi Troll, published through their Kaboom line, which comes out on the 28th of this month. And I have done a lot of licensed properties, too. A lot of the Jim Henson-based stuff, like Fraggle Rock, Dark Crystal, and Labyrinth. I've worked on all of those for Boom. And I've worked on My Little Pony for IDW, and done a lot of other licensed properties like that for most of those publishers and a few others.
Now, how would one get involved with My Little Pony?
I was fortunate in that one of my best friends, Katie Cook, was writing the series at the time, so she recommended me to her editor, and he initially wanted to just use me for a cover, and midway through working on that assignment, he asked me if I wanted to just draw the whole issue, and I was happy to do it, and that led to me doing at least a dozen different issues, I think, before I kind of moved on to other things this year.
Now, you said you were coming out this month with Bodhi Troll.
Yeah.
Now, are you the writer of that as well?
Yeah, I do everything on Bodhi, writing, drawing, coloring, lettering. I created Bodhi in 2011, and it was originally published by Red 5 Comics, which is a small independent company, and when my contract ran out with them, Boom showed interest and picked up Bodhi. And just so people know, Bodhi is a fairy tale troll that wants to be big and scary, but he's too cute and cuddly, so no one takes him seriously. And his whole book is this big anachronistic fairy tale world. It's an all-ages comic book. And so this book that's coming out on February 28th through Boom is going to be a compilation of all my previous Bodhi material and all the new stuff I've been working on.
Kind of more graphic novel, like a large issue type thing?
Totally. Very much a graphic novel, yeah.
Oh, awesome. So if you could pick one picture that you have drawn that has been, you say, the greatest picture that I've ever done, what would that be?
Wow. It's, you know what, probably when I was in the first grade, I just came up with this scene of a bunch of little firefighter cartoon dogs doing this sort of slapstick thing while they're trying to put a telephone that's on fire out. And that was sort of my first piece of sequential art, and everything kind of blossomed from there for me working on comics. So that's probably the most important thing I ever drew.
Now, did you take any type of training to become the artist you are today?
Not at all. I'm self-taught. I went to college for art, and we would study the more traditional forms of art, drawing still lifes and drawing in perspective and things of that nature. But for the most part, the things that I did in there didn't necessarily figure into what I was doing in comics. So I got a better education working in comics when I was working on various school newspapers doing comic strips for them when I was in college.
Mm-hmm. Now, being such a great artist, how many friends do you have that always say, "Can you draw a picture of me?" That has to happen all the time.
You know, it happens, but at the same time, I'm usually drawing them without them knowing it. Like, one of my favorite things to do is go through my Facebook friends list, and someone will post an interesting photo of them. Jason Clark of An Elegant Weapon, for example, has probably 1,000 different drawings I've done of him. And I'll usually surprise them with it. That's just something I enjoy to do.
I've seen a couple of those, and they are spot on.
Thank you. Well, he's such a character, it's easy to draw him. So.
Oh my God, is he ever?
Yes.
Is he ever? Now then, after the release of Bodhi Troll, is there anything else that you can say that you're currently working on?
Yes, I am writing and drawing an issue of an upcoming Fraggle Rock comic book, also for Boom through their Archaea line. Let me see what else. I have something in the works for Marvel that I can't quite say what's happening, but it's going to be really cool when it does. And it's going to be humorous, which is nice, because Marvel needs to do more humor-related things, I think.
Yeah, everything's starting to get a little dark in the Marvel Marvel comics as well as their cinematic universe.
Oh yeah, a lot of the superhero stuff in general takes itself pretty seriously, and Marvel's always done things pretty tongue-in-cheek, more so than DC, I think. But it's nice when Marvel just does something that's flat-out humor, and I'm happy to be a part of that. So
now, how would one draw the more humoristic or humor kind of comic? Like, what would be the inspiration behind that?
My first instinct is to always look at animation, like anything by Disney, Brad Bird, Ralph Bakshi, Don Bluth. I love the animators, so to do anything that's a lot more streamlined, a lot more simplified and eye-pleasing, typical cartoon traits, that's how I approach it. I'm definitely not looking to do perfect anatomy or perfect architectural realism or anything like that. I want it to look like an animated, something out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so that's my way of doing a humorous comic.
Oh, awesome. Well, you know what? Enjoy your time here at Action Windsor, and I'd like to thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me on your show.
Where can people find your work?
Go to jfosgitt.com. I have links to all my social media and my appearances.
Perfect. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
His eardrums were scientifically altered for world peace. His ears are more finely tuned than yours or mine. He can listen to a podcast from a mile away. He is the most dedicated podcast fan in the world. I do not always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the Tangent-Bound Network. Keep listening, my friends.
Salsa shark! We're gonna need a bigger boat! Throughout history, they have been a part of our Canadian life. Men and women who have made their mission to entertain their fellow man. They've worked hard enough. Isn't it time they had their own podcast?
Droids Canada. This podcast would be great if it wasn't for the internet trolls.
I don't bother them and they don't bother me.
I could do without the bad reviews in the iTunes store. You have that podcast with that guy who was at that Comic-Con in the last year?
You should hear the barrage of the stupid questions I get on our SoundCloud account. What do you mean there was coughing? How am I going to hear a podcast with coughing?
You feel a lot better if you just rip into the occasional guest.
You're a host who doesn't get paid. You can't just do anything you want while you're recording.
What kind of podcast are you running here anyways?
Droids Canada Podcast present.
You think anyone can see us down here?
Why, you think you want to have sex or something?
Can we?
Droids Canada Podcast. The only show to rip off a Clerks trailer.
You hate people!
But I love Comic-Cons. Isn't it ironic?
This podcast is a proud member of the Points of Interest Podcast Network. Visit us today at poipodcast.com.